Okay, so Internet Explorer for some reason was having itself a little tizzy with the APIC GUI. I've seen the same kind of problems with Safari. So if you have a browser you think isn't acting quite right, for Internet Explorer's case, it wasn't even accessing the GUI at all. I opened up Chrome and boom, there it goes. But again, if you feel like your browser's not acting quite properly, you might want to check it out with another browser like Firefox or Chrome. Again, I've seen some problems with Internet Explorer and Safari. Maybe just me, maybe the versions that I've used in the past. But again, in this case, Chrome seems to be working just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to this APIC GUI with those credentials that I had placed in. So again, admin's going to be the default user, and then the password that we configured during the bootstrapping process. And once we log in, we can see, well, we're always going to get this little message. We can see the basic APIC screen. Let me get out of the view here. So this is what the APIC GUI looks like. And again, it's quite overwhelming, especially when you're in advanced mode. It's kind of, for me, it was a little bit like the first time I accessed UCS Manager. I mean, you're just like, wow, there's a lot of different things in here to kind of look at. I mean, right now we're on the system page. This is where we're going to get a lot of health information. We're going to be able to see if there's any faults within the ACI infrastructure, again, from the controller's view. Right now, it's pretty bland because we don't have any of the fabric discovered, which is actually why we're here, right? We're going to go through the fabric discovery process. So aptly, to discover the fabric, what Cisco's done is placed a fabric tab in here, which is where we're going to do most of our fabric-wide configuration. So again, nothing within a specific tenant, but again, from a fabric as a whole, we're going to be doing everything from this fabric tab. And we can see kind of UCS-ish how they drop down from this tab into other tabs. So we're going to be going to inventory, and basically we're going to go down here to the fabric membership column. So again, if we expand this, right now we only see a single switch in here. So again, I'll click on fabric membership. And notice we see one switch, we see the serial number, which I have blanked out. But again, this is the LLDP process kind of in action here. So basically, because this APIC's plugged into two separate switches, what it's doing is only one of the APIC fabric ports is actually active, the other one's kind of standby. So if we look at it, let me go back over to this guy. We've got our APIC. And this APIC's actually dual homed into two separate leaves. So I have, leaf 1, and then I have leaf 2. So one of these is active, while the other one is kind of just like a standby. Okay, so that's why we're only seeing a single leaf right now, because we're basically getting the information via LLDP. Again, they're looking for that specific OUI, and this leaf is requesting an IP address from the APIC controller. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and assign it. We're going to let it pull an IP address, and we start that process by coming in here and giving this guy a node ID. So see over here, there's an error. The minimum value is actually 101. So for this specific node, so looking kind of cross-referencing, this is going to be 102, and this is actually leaf 2. And you can do this, I try to do stuff all uppercase if I can, but again, just assign it a node ID and a node name and click update, okay? So what we're going to see happen is it's going to assign an IP address over here, again, out of that TEP address pool. So we'll see an IP address pop up, and then again, the LLDP process, this is basically the fabric doing its auto discovery. So I kind of have it backwards over here. We actually discovered leaf 2 first. But what's going to happen is, because we have a spine, whoops, kind of messed up. I'm just going to go with it. Because we have a spine that's also connected to both of these leaves, what's going to happen is, again, through LLDP, we're going to see the spine next, and we're going to assign it an IP address, and then we'll see the other leaf come in, okay? So go back over here. Notice now, we see this guy now has an IP address. So we can see 10.0.168.95/32. Again, that is not an out-of-band management IP. Okay, this is a tunnel endpoint address. This is for the VXLAN overlay that ACS basically building in the background. We can also see this spine has been discovered, so let's go ahead and assign it a value. So I'm gonna do 200s for my spine. Call this spine 1. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and click update, and then we should see our third and final. After that guy pulls an IP address, we should see our third and final leaf, or sorry, our second and final leaf show up. Not a big fabric here. Again, just a spine and 2 leaves. So I think we have 9336s and 9372s. We can see that based on the ASICs or switches on chips that are within these guys, so this guy has the application spine engine and this guy has the application leaf engine. So that's how it's picking up the specific roles for these guys. So now we see the other leaf pop up. I'm going to go ahead and we know he's leaf 1, so he's going to be 101, leaf 1, and we'll click update. Okay, so we should see that guy pull an IP address, and that will basically be the gist of our fabric basically auto-assembling itself for us. Again, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it works very, very well. So you do have to go through this process, though, for every switch that you have. So we can see now all of them have IP addresses out of that loopback, out of that tunnel endpoint address range. And again, once we get the out-of-band management access hooked up to these leaf switches, we will really get in here and be able to see what's going on with these different IP addresses that they're pulling out of that tunnel endpoint pool. So again, using LLDP and these specific TLVs, which I believe is an OUI pickup, we're able to identify these guys. They request the DHCP addresses from the actual APIC controllers themselves. So again, what we did is we came out here and discovered leaf 2 first, then we discovered the spine, and then we discovered leaf 1. Again, even though we're dual homed, only one of these ports off the APIC is going to be considered our active port at any given time. So we see now all of the different interfaces have been picked up. So I think I might have console access to these devices. Let me try to pull it up over here. See if I have access to one of these leaves. Yeah. Let me So if we look now, I'm on leaf 1. If I say show IP interface brief, again, you won't have all the commands that you kind of expect to see in there, but some of them are available. We can actually see a VLAN 7, so we see 10.0.0.30/27. We see a loopback IP address here, and this is the tunnel endpoint address that we were using for that specific overlay. Remember, we go back here to the GUI for leaf 1. We see 10.0.168.93. We look back over here, we see 10.0.168.93. Again, it's a /32 because it is on a loopback. But you're probably like, why are all these IP addresses in here? Well, loopback 0, that is again the tunnel endpoint address assigned to that switch. It's used for the VXLAN overlay in order to forward the data plane traffic that we'll have going across this ACI infrastructure. We see the loopback 1023. That's just a pervasive gateway. This is going to be the same on all of our switches. So on all our leafs, if we actually all open up another console here in a second, we should see that loopback 1023 is 10.0.0.32 on all of them. And then the VLAN that we're seeing there is the infrastructure VLAN that we created during the setup. So we used VLAN 4, right? So why is it VLAN 7 within here? Does anybody know? Why is that VLAN 7? Well, there's like a translation that's done in the background. So if I were to say show VLAN, what we're going to see is we see VLAN 7, but if we say show VLAN extended, we can see that VLAN 7 is in fact VLAN 4. So there's some translation that's done kind of in the background with regards to, it's specifically for the VXLAN overlay itself. We can see that we have a VXLAN vid or a VXLAN identifier, as well as that VLAN that we configured during the bootstrapping process. But basically, we're using VLAN 7 as our infrastructure VLAN. Okay, so we're using VLAN 7, but if this were ever to exit the fabric for some reason, we're basically going to be using a VLAN ID of 4, like if we were going off to an AVS, an application virtual switch, we'd be using VLAN 4 outside of the fabric, but that translates to VLAN 7 inside of the fabric. So that's what all these different IP addresses are used for. Let me see if I can open up a different connection to another leaf switch, and we'll make sure that those are the same. Whoops. Okay. Looks like I was able to. So if we said show IPM brief, so 1023, we see 10.0032 on leaf 2 and 10.0032 on leaf 1. So again, that's just a pervasive gateway that we'll be using. We'll see that this happens with other interfaces. So as we build bridge domains and whatnot, we're going to see these pervasive gateways kind of pop up as we go along, okay? So now that we have completed the fabric discovery process, we're really in a position where we can begin creating our tenants and then out-of-band management configuration and whatnot to really start building out our ACI infrastructure. So that's kind of what we have to look forward to in these next couple videos, is where we really start building a lot of the constructs that we'll be using throughout the rest of these demos.